Hello again, YouTubers, on SpongeBob 101, back here again on the SpongeBob channel for a SpongeBob episode review. In this video, we are reviewing episode 323 and 324, SpongeBob and Patrick's Timeline Twist-Up. The synopsis states, when Patrick's time closet goes on the fritz, SpongeBob's history is rewritten by time-traveling interlopers. Let's dive right in. The episode begins with a real chill vibe. SpongeBob and Patrick are having a drink along a river and then crash down a waterfall. Turns out this was just another Glove World ride. They get carted back to the pineapple, where SpongeBob takes the latest photo he's gotten from Glove World and slots it in his scrapbook. Very surprisingly random start there, but the premise of the episode is basically saving his precious memories. I mean, Squidward does get hit with the barbecue grill, which is pretty hilarious, but that's a side thing, right? So SpongeBob goes through his memories circa seasons 1 through 3, and SpongeBob realizes that Patrick's family members, of all people, have been taking his spot in various photos. So SpongeBob and Patrick decide to make their way over to the Star family residence, but not before taking a Sunday pit stop at Goofy Goober's. You gotta give him that, right? Ice cream in hand, they proceed over to the Star family residence. They find it empty, and the toaster and even Twinkle have gone feral. Why Patrick feeds the toaster with SpongeBob's wallet is beyond me, though, but so far loving the expressions. They do find Patrick's room in a mess as well, and in the process of playing detective, they just don't realize that the time closet is moving about. That's totally not normal, right? I did not know SpongeBob wore contact lenses. That was kind of new. But just as the time closet tries to devour them, Squidina pulls them out of harm's way. Patrick threatening Squidina with SpongeBob knowing karate was pretty funny. But Squidina does give us the background of how the time closet went nuts. Basically, Bunny, Cecil, and Grandpat were filling with it, stuffing it with stuff. And just as Squidina is about to lay out a plan to stop the time closet, it bursts through the walls. Yeah, I got a little shocked there, to be honest. The time closet devours her too, and then starts chasing our heroic duo around before escaping into town and devouring Granny Squidward, or Granny Tentacles as well. So SpongeBob and Patrick come up with a great plan, do some math, and think like doors. Why they use the SpongeBob Last Stand hippie character design is beyond me. I don't really like that one. But using lame jokes, they managed to confuse the time closet and knock it out, bolting it back in place. SpongeBob realizes Patrick's family is indeed taking his place in the past, but before they go bring them back, they start watching what happens to each character before jumping in at the last opportune moment to rescue them. So, first up, guys, Rock Bottom. This is my favorite season 1 episode, of course, so it was a real treat watching and seeing that old animation style again, getting SpongeBob and Patrick going down the 90-degree angle road. It was just amazing. Contrasting the modern design of Patrick's family with the faded colors of old SpongeBob and Patrick was also pretty nice to see. And you may have your opinions on the Patrick Star show so far. I'm okay with it, honestly. Of course, I still like the mainline series the best, but, they kind of did mix in Patrick Star show here. Instead of SpongeBob getting the schedule from the bus station, Squidina volunteers to do it, missing the bus in SpongeBob's place. The running thing is, since history is being changed, it only makes sense to get new content here, which is, that's the new part, right? Squidina does encounter the strange creatures of Rock Bottom and some teenage ne'er-do-wells, and after she does miss the bus again, they invite her to take part in pulling some pranks. So she agrees, and they go around doing nonsensical things, causing people to get eaten up by monsters, including Squidward. How that even worked, I'm not sure, because you would think the Rock Bottom characters are only Rock Bottom. Squidina is eventually pranked herself in a good way, though, since a glove balloon carries her up, just like how SpongeBob left Rock Bottom in the original. But Squidina is rescued, and we move on to the next character. Cecil is finding himself in the episode Ripped Pans, of course, another classic. And there, instead of SpongeBob trying to lift the marshmallows, Cecil does so instead, ripping his pants. But unlike SpongeBob, it is pointed out by Scooter, Cecil ripping his pants never gets old, and so he gets a comedy role and then becomes a fashion icon, which is pretty impressive. Cecil does become CEO of Rip Pants Incorporated, but things do go downhill after he convinces everyone to rip their clothes in winter. But before he gets torn apart by the mob, he is rescued. So the photos go back to normal, but then third order business, it's time to head over to Neptune Spatula. Another really nice episode. Not as classic as Rip Pens for sure, but it turns out just as SpongeBob was about to pull the golden spatula from the grease, Bunny shows up and uses detergent. I mean, it makes so much sense because, that's what you use to wipe away grease, right? But in the process of doing that, she releases the spatula, triggering King Neptune's arrival, and he actually finds Bunny worthy of being the royal fry cook, bringing back her to Atlantis. Due to her terrible cooking, King Neptune is bedridden, and she takes over his duties, or volunteers for them, and hits Trident, first helping to save an elementary school from a falling anchor, redirecting it to the chum bucket. The running thing in this episode is Plankton in the background keeps getting destroyed, even at the end, okay? She stops a flood from a broken dam, and finally when a volcano erupts, Bunny quite literally mops up the lava and plugs the volcano with Plankton fried. Bunny is getting too much attention. Turns out Neptune was just faking a bellyache, and once he sees Bunny being portrayed as a hero, it does affect his ego, so he challenges Bunny to the ultimate contest at the Poseidon, battling out for Neptune's crown. Their challenge: defeat a Kraken from King Coral. But before Bunny can even fight, she's rescued by SpongeBob and Patrick. She does return Neptune his trident, but unfortunately that just dissolves because, Bunny had to make it clean by using abrasive cleaners. So instead of tasting Krabby Patties, it's Neptune who's tasted. And apparently he tastes like chicken. I did not need to know that, but okay, that's what the Kraken said. With another character save, they realize Grandpat is still lost, and he replaces SpongeBob in Help Wanted. We're going back to where it all started. We get a remake of the original pilot episode, and Grandpat, however, gets hired before SpongeBob can make his way to the Krusty Krab. So a disappointed SpongeBob heads home, while anchovies arrive at the Krusty Krab. Faced with all of that pressure, Grandpat just quits, and he encounters Plankton. Yes, so we do get a mix-up between Help Wanted and the episode Plankton. Plankton does buy the Krabby Patty off Grandpat for $500, but Grandpat suspects something is up, discovering that Plankton intends to extract the secret formula and rule the world. Plankton letting the whole plan slip was not a good idea because Grandpat seizes his opportunity to rule the world, pushing the button instead and setting in motion an apocalypse where Grandpat starts selling Grand Patties, conquering the world. I'm not even going to get into how wrong this is. There's so much wrong with this to begin with, but Grandpat does clone himself. It's just pretty creepy. And rules the world with Krabs as his busboy, and he wants to set all of creation on fire again. SpongeBob and Patrick try to return him to his proper timeline, but the power has really gotten to Grandpat's head, and he locks him up in the brig. Patrick proposes clobbering him, but Squidina suggests rewinding the timeline, so to save the day, SpongeBob retrieves the hydrodynamic spatula from the bargain mart and takes it to his past self, allowing SpongeBob to fly to the Krusty Krab and save the day. Grandpat is brought back just as he is leaving the Krusty Krab with his lunch, and Patrick also seizes the Krabby Patty from Plankton, turning everything back to normal. Well, sorta. They forgot Granny Tentacles, and she's become Empress Granny. What a doozy. So hopefully that gets fixed. I mean, we didn't get to see that lost part, but this episode can be best summed up as a hat tip to classic SpongeBob, revisiting what so many fans do consider the golden age of SpongeBob once more, with new characters added in the form of Patrick's family. The fact that Rock Bottom got featured again, something I've been waiting for so long to see, was, simply awesome. Very simple premise, just going back in time, trying to fix stuff. But watching it brought back so many memories for me, and I just have to give a plot, even though it has some inconsistencies and strangeness here and there, a 10 out of 10. As for animation, I'd say it gets a 10 out of 10 as well. The fact that the crew didn't just decide to use the modern SpongeBob art style for this episode, plus all the random gags, expressions, and randomness, along with incidental characters old and new, and Plankton torture, for a nostalgia-filled episode, animation was top-notch. As for unique characteristics, it gets 10 out of 10 as well. As a TV movie-length special, this episode really does a lot right, even though it does reuse past content, because the fact that each of Patrick's family members fit just right in to the episode they were plonked into was really impressive. And for all the thought that went into the writing, I just can't give enough praise. So sure, Band Geeks would have been a great place to visit, you know, the sponge who could fly as well, but there's nothing like where it all started back in 1999. And when SpongeBob cheered up his past self and got him ready to start a career at the Krusty Krab, it did get me a little bit emotional. So there's a lot great with this episode, and although it's certainly not perfect, but this is the first episode I've reviewed on this channel where I really do feel compelled to give it a perfect 30 out of 30. But that's about it for this review. Make sure to subscribe, like, and let me know in the comments box below what you guys thought about this very nostalgia-filled episode. More SpongeBob coming real soon, so till next time, see you guys later. Bye!